Hello friends, this is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing, coming to you with the project for my Sunday's Art of Truth for Sunday, October the 16th. I had to look at my paper. We're going to be creating a mixed media cover. So I have talked about this a little bit on my channel. I've tried to give a little bit of direction and help to folks who are trying to figure out a little bit how to do mixed media, how to build a topper for a journal cover, so that you're not actually experimenting on the cover of a beautiful journal. You can kind of build up what we call an assemblage on another substrate. In this case, it's going to be a piece of corrugated cardboard. So that's what we're going to do today. As you can see, I've got a ton of stuff. So I'm going to talk about the supplies a moment. I will be switching to the voiceover because that is works the best for me when I do mixed media kinds of projects, or projects that have really complex steps that require drying and things like that. So we are going to use some modeling paste. We're going to do a little bit of, we're not going to use it through a stencil, I don't think. I think we're just going to use it to make some texture. I think I'm going to try to mix it with some paint to create a different color. So we will see how that goes. I've got my Distress Crackle paint. I'm thinking I want to use this. It's just all depends on how the project goes. I've got this matte medium. This is the Daler and Rowney that I used in another recent video. I'm going to give this a try. It's a thicker medium, so I think it's going to hold my papers better than my Liquitex matte, fluid matte medium. So I've got that out in case I need it. I have my golden fluid acrylic and raw umber. I may do a glaze or a wash with that over the cardboard. We will see. I've got my yellow ochre golden fluid acrylic and the transparent red iron oxide. The beauty of this, if you're interested, is the transparency. So look at how transparent that is. So when you can see those black stripes through the paint, that means it's highly transparent. So it's an awesome product. Got a palette knife, a few brushes. I've got a stamp to do some stamping in case we want to do that. I pulled this out because I thought I want to add some gems on this, and I know it's going to look kind of counterintuitive because the process is so fall-ish and warm, but today I'm going to be talking about a concept of letting go. So we all know what that means, right? And we all know how hard it can be. So it's been really heavy on my heart. I've kind of mentioned in passing over the last few weeks that I had been in a really had a very difficult relational experience with one of my sisters. Unfortunately, it didn't end well, and so in the backlash of that and the process after that, for the healing to come and for my heart to be healed up, I need to make some choices about how I think about that, what I do with those feelings, and those kinds of things. So I bumped into well, I didn't bump into it. I was listening to an audiobook of The Shack, and the author in the book was talking about, or the makers of the film, I don't know who actually came up with this part of it, but it talked about how, I posted this on my Facebook, that forgiveness for the forgiver, and forgiveness to me is an act of letting go. And so I'm going to talk about that a lot in the blog, hopefully in a way that will be comforting for folks rather than intrusive or condemning or any of those other harder things. So, but what this author had said in the audiobook is forgiveness for the forgiver is the choice to let go of the throat of another. So let that sink in. Forgiveness for the forgiver is the choice to let go of the throat of another. Doesn't mean that we haven't been hurt. It doesn't mean we trust that person. It doesn't mean that we have a relationship with them. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that we let go of that control of seeing that person pay or understand our position or any of those things. And then the other important fact that I realized was that as the forgiver, we also have no duty to seek justice in the situation. In fact, our best health, I think, comes from knowing when to walk away, knowing when to let go, kind of like that old Kenny Rogers song, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And so I think it's a bit of a dance. It's a dance between the heart and the mind oftentimes. And so that's what I'm going to be writing about in the Sunday's Art of Truth. So I thought I would take advantage of this project to write about that, because when I started thinking about that, I was like, I want to find something that I can create this cover with. So this is going to be for the, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. It's after work. So this is going to be the cover for the Autumn Garden Journal, which will be the first prize in the 2,000 subscriber giveaway, which is going to be right around the corner, you guys. We are at 1,990 subscribers right now. And so I thought, what a perfect opportunity. I found this kit, which, let me just show you just a sneak peek of some of the papers. I'm not going to show them all to you, just so you can get a feel for the tones in this paper. And this is from My White Cat Journals. And so see, the images are just really, they're muted out, they're fallish, but they're also soft and feminine. And I really, really, really love that. And so these are just a couple of the pages that are in the kit. So I selected some pieces from the kit to create this kind of collage cover for this journal. So I selected a bunch of this is coffee dyed eyelet trim, some lace, some scrapbook paper, because I really want to bring out some color in this. I don't want it to be all muted. And then I want to put a flower on it, but I saw all these and they all would go perfect with this project, right? But then I have this drawer that's called my Fun Bits drawer. And it has just all those things that you don't know what to do with. All the things you've been collecting, little bitty things, beads and stuff, just stuff. This is a flower off of an old pair of sandals. Probably, I've been holding on to this for probably 2 years. And I think it is the flower for this project. We will see, though. Many steps until we get there. So I'm just going to move this stuff away here so that we can work. And I forgot I didn't put anything down on my glass, so we're just going to work directly on the glass here today. So I've taken a picture of this because it was complicated for me to figure out how I wanted to lay this all out. So I'm just going to pull these bits off to the side. These are all the paper bits that are going to go on the top. But first things first, we need to prepare this cardboard. So it's just a piece of corrugated cardboard, and it's that kind when you pull it back, it rips the first layer off. So let me see if I can find something that will make it easy for us to pull that away. There is my pokey thing that I was looking for yesterday. This works really well. So I'm not concerned about the middle section because it's going to be covered over with this layered paper bit and lace bit. So I'm going to kind of focus on the corners. And I'm just going to kind of tear a couple places here, just along where I know that cardboard is. I'm going to go all the way to the top just so that I can get a start on this. And I'm probably going to get some clear gesso as well. I didn't pull that out, but cardboard is cardboard, so it will absorb all the liquid that you're working with on the project. And that's not necessarily what you want here because it will break it down. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get a couple more bits here. So you can do this however you choose, but this just allows you an opportunity to kind of get in there and pull that top layer off. Hope that makes sense. Well, that's not working very well. There we go, the smaller end. So just pull that back. And it just exposes that corrugation, which I think is really cool. I love doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part, and I'm going to go ahead and just pull some of this away in various places, and I will be right back with you. I'm just going to continue to go ahead and pull off this top layer of the corrugated cardboard. all around. I'm not taking all of it off, just in places here and there. And I'm not focusing on the middle section at all, because that is going to be covered over with our paper kind of assemblage that we're going to be putting together with that digital that I showed you. After we're done stripping this layer off in places, I'm going to go ahead and give it a coat of gesso. And as a reminder, gesso is a primer, and so by putting it on the cardboard, we're going to be creating a seal so that all of our liquid, all of our fluid is not going to just absorb immediately into that cardboard, because that is the nature of cardboard. It's just going to soak it up. It's sort of like cotton in that regard. So the gesso is going to give us that ability. Also, it strengthens the cardboard. And even though I chose to do white gesso because I like that base, and I knew that I was going to come in with some other colors like my raw umber and other colors. So, but if you did not want to, and you just wanted to seal a project or create that primed surface, you could use clear gesso. It does leave some texture, because that is kind of the idea of gesso, is it has tooth to it, which allows it to adhere to the substrate that you're putting it on, but it also creates that barrier that we were talking about. So you could certainly use clear gesso as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn the music on for a bit here and let you watch. I am trying to get some of that gesso down into the crevices that were created by the pulling away of that layer of cardboard, because I don't want all that fluid, any fluid that I use, to just go right down into those crevices and weaken the cardboard. So that's why you see me focusing a little bit with the edge of my brush, the tip of my brush, to get that gesso in those areas as well. We don't necessarily need to see that brown cardboard, because our paint is going to take over. So before we move on to the next step, we will be making sure that this is nice and dry. That's very important. So yeah. And there's just a close-up. I just wanted to show you that gesso in those cracks and such. I'm going to come in with a layer of, I believe this is the yellow ochre from Golden Fluid Acrylic. I love my fluid acrylics. You definitely do not need fluid acrylics. So let me just say that right out of the gate. I have been doing mixed media for a few years, probably 4 years, and I got accustomed to certain products, and I found my favorites. So there's a lot of good paint out there. I would highly recommend Deco Art paint. It is their Americana series, and it is very, very good paint, but it is cost-wise, it's more in the range for craft acrylics, so it's affordable, and they have an array of colors. I do find them difficult to, well, let me take that back. You can get most of them at Hobby Lobby. They're hard to get on Amazon. I think they're overpriced, but you could definitely check that out. But this is a beautiful color, and it gave us that kind of yellow golden base that I was looking for, because I really want to bring out a little bit of gold, not gold, the shiny gold, but that sun gold in the project from the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and dry that as well. And there again is a close-up. just showing you how that cardboard bowed, and you saw that I just kind of bent it back a little bit, not a big deal, and that is because it is paper, basically. I'm going to go ahead and use, I cannot remember what I was going to grab here. Hold on. Sorry, I'm still not feeling good, so I apologize if I'm a little bit nasally, but I need to get this voiceover done. So some stamping. So I grabbed my black archival ink and just this stamp from my basket, and I'm just going to stamp in black all over this piece of cardboard. Now I'm not, again, worried about the center because that's going to be covered over. And you will see that I do this step again after we add some other mediums, and that will make sense when we get there. So I wanted to use a stamp that had some script that was not too large, because scale is also really important when you're creating an art piece of any kind. You wouldn't want to necessarily have this huge writing in the background when your substrate is small. So that's why I kind of went for that smaller script. And again, I can't emphasize enough, you do want to dry in between all of the layers. So now I'm coming in. This is a new kind of ledger. I believe it's a ledger stencil from the Crafters Workshop. This is the first time I've used it. And I am using that US Art Supply modeling paste that I've mentioned before. I will be sure to link it in the supply list. And you can find the supply list over on my blog, and a link to the blog is in the description box. So this did not work out exactly as I had hoped. Excuse me. For a couple of reasons. I'm so sorry, guys. I had a little bit of a coughing fit there. As I was saying, it didn't turn out as I had hoped, and I believe that the reason for that is because the corrugated cardboard is weakened by stripping off that top layer. That's not a bad thing. It just made this it made it hard to get the impression with the stencil that I was hoping for. But it works out in the end. You can see it. It's there. It's subtle. And then I also noticed that I got the kind of a blobby bit there in the lower left-hand corner. And again, I think that's because the corrugated cardboard was compromised by being kind of thinned out by stripping off that top layer. But when I use stencils, especially at this stage, it's just to create some interest in the background. And so as you can see here, I've had some questions about, okay, what do I do first, modeling paste or stenciling? You can do both. You just want to make sure that the ink that you're using is permanent, which I use archival inks. So we can do the stenciling over that, and we also did stamping on top of it once it was dry. So I hope that's going to make sense again as we move along here in the video. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this crackle paint. This is that Distress crackle paint from Ranger. I've used it before. I love it because it has this, it's a transparent kind of icing kind of, that's not what I meant to say. It's transparent is really what I'm getting at. What I neglected to realize though, using it at this step, was that if I put it over any of the white modeling paste that I just put down, I basically am risking locking in that white, because no other medium is going to be able to get to it, because this crackle medium is going to cover, it's going to put a transparent layer over the top. I didn't find that it was a problem, but you do want to keep that in mind, especially if you're using this particular product. If there's whatever you're putting it on top of, you're going to be kind of stuck with that color, because there's no way to get anything into it after that point. So I hope that makes sense. It turned out fine. I was able to come in over it, and so you can cover over it, right? So I did come in with some other colors of paint just here and there, just to kind of help that. And then here I'm using a little bit of gesso and my palette knife just to add a little bit more texture. You know how I like my texture. The texture tells a story, and I really love. I love how it makes me feel. I love the places that it takes me in my mind and in my imagination, and so that's really why I like it. It did mean that I was kind of losing some of the definition of that stencil even more, but it was beautiful, and I was super happy with it. And so, as I mentioned in the beginning, the intro, I am going to be writing about letting go, i.e. forgiveness, and I'm going to be approaching it from a very gentle place, I guess is what I would say. And so again, when I'm creating for Sunday's Art of Truth, my heart is going places that are things that I'm processing. So you'll be able to read about that over on the blog, kind of what I was thinking as I was creating, as well as what the meaning of that was for me based on the topic. So, and here is where I was talking about coming in with that black archival ink again, and that stamp rather, and putting the ink again, the text over that white modeling paste and gesso. Just a little bit of a close-up of that. I did make sure that that was nice and dry, or let me just say, I let it set and then I dried it with my heat tool. It was not enough, and you're going to see that here now as we do this glaze. And so this is always where it happens for me when my modeling paste is not set enough, and I use this really wet application of a very thin runny paint and glazing medium mixture, and when I go to wipe that brown off, if the modeling paste or texture paste is not completely set underneath, you're going to see what happens. Again, it's not a failure. It's not horrible. In mixed media, the grunge, the texture is what I'm looking for. But I would really advise you to be more patient than I usually am. Again, I was trying to do this while I was not feeling well, trying to get it done so that I wasn't cramming for the weekend and that kind of thing. So I was not as patient as I should have been. So here you're going to see it come up. So those big white spots there is where the modeling paste is not dry, and it is further exasperated by the fact that I'm putting something wet on top of it. So it just kind of turns it soft and kind of mushy. But again, it was amazing in the end. It turned out beautiful. I'm able to fix it, and I will talk about that when we bump into that step. Trying there to kind of smooth it out, but it was just sticky. Tried some raw umber, which was a good move because it did put some more color, but then it made that edge really dark. But again, in the end, when you're doing layer after layer, there's lots of things that you can do, which I'm going to show you here in a moment, to kind of masquerade or hide the blemishes in your project. So there we went ahead and let that dry again completely, and there's a close-up of that crackle, that gesso, the brown that has gone into all of those crevices that we tore that top layer of corrugated cardboard off. Corrugated cardboard is one of my favorite things to use. I use it a lot. It's easy, it's recycled, it's wonderful. So I would highly suggest, if you want to play and you don't want to ruin a journal cover, do a topper like this. And then if you don't like it, you hate it, you haven't spoiled your journal, right? You haven't ruined your journal cover. So here is one of the steps that I'm coming in, and I'm able to bring in some of that was it raw sienna? Sorry, guys. Yellow ochre. Sorry, they're similar colors. This is a little bit more yellow. And I'm just using my finger and letting my finger kind of skip around this piece of cardboard and just get that paint here and there. That's covering up some of the blemishes that I didn't like. It's taking away a little bit more of that white that we're seeing, which a little bit of white is good, but I didn't want a lot of it. So, and there I'm just drying that, I think. I guess I didn't dry it. Sorry guys. I created this like 4 days ago. I'm so sorry. So this is the golden fluid acrylic in transparent red iron oxide. This was a game changer for this project. So I'm going to spill a little bit of it out here on my mat. And I'm going to do the same thing. I wasn't concerned about drying the previous layer because I didn't really care if that yellow ochre and the red iron oxide mixes, because it's not going to really do anything. If anything, the yellow ochre would mute down the red iron oxide, but it was just a great complement. I was having trouble with the bottle. It was just giving me really runny paint there. So I'm going to show you a close-up of this when I'm done using my finger here, and just show you how beautiful bringing in that little bit of red. It's like a reddish orange. It's really gorgeous. And again, it helped to kind of disguise some of those things that I wasn't super thrilled about, and it brought in that burnt orange kind of feel and vibe to the substrate here. And it also helps me to push back a little bit of that brown, that raw umber that got really dark there on the side that I'm working on, because I had to fix that soft modeling paste. And so again, if you can walk away for 3 or 4 hours after you do use modeling paste or texture medium like that, I would highly suggest it, especially if you're learning. There's nothing worse than trying to learn a new medium and not being patient, and then you think that it's the product that's spoiled, when it's really, we just have to be more patient, and I'm not great at that. So again, just working my way around that. There's a close-up. I do take some photos here in a few moments, just right on camera here, because I wanted to capture this background so that I can print it out and use it in other things. So you're going to see me do that, get my phone out and just get it right over my desk there and snap some photos. So. And then I'm just, again, going back with that yellow ochre. It is often the way mixed media goes, is you just kind of are moving back and forth between the different colors that you're using, if you're using acrylic paints and things like that. So it's just I kind of talk about it as being a dance, because you're kind of listening to and watching, paying attention to what feels right for you. And then you know when you need a little bit more, a little bit less, or when you need to push back a color, or when it's good. So gave that a good dry as well. And again, there's the close-up. Is that just amazing? I love that raw umber down in those holes that were created by stripping off that top layer. So I'm going to grab a couple of photos here. They didn't all turn out because I'm taking this picture. The lighting was terrible, but I'll probably make it work. I can doctor it up and make it a little bit more vibrant in my software, but I just want to capture it because I always forget to do that, and then I cover over that beautiful background, and it's something that I could use again, so as in picture form. So there we go. And so now I decided I wanted to go ahead and give this whole surface a seal, and I'm just going to use my fluid matte medium from Liquitex. I actually had somebody in a group that I'm in, that I'm moderating for, ask about sealing things on the cover, and that. So we were talking around that, and then I was realizing that I generally don't seal this kind of work. Because I've never felt a need to, but I'm thinking that it's probably a good idea, because if this gets bumped, because it's going to be a journal cover, right? So this matte medium layer this fluid matte medium layer is going to help protect on that top layer from any bumping or any scratching or anything like that. So that's why I decided to do that. And I'm just showing you there with my finger how some of that matte medium is still visible. It won't be when it's dry, because the matte medium dries transparent. So I just wanted to show you that. We're going to start working on the assemblage here of the cover, and I'm just pulling up that picture that I took so that I can kind of see. I'm not following it kind of verbatim, but I did want to kind of refresh my memory about what I was thinking, the orders of the paper, what was on the bottom, and how it was building up to the top layer. This is a great way to create a very interesting cover. It's not hard. I mean, this video was about an hour and 10 minutes in total. The whole process, like and that was with things drying, even though I didn't let the modeling paste dry properly, but that's with drying time. That was everything. So this is this would be a great playground to play on with some mixed media. Just layering up some papers. That's some scrapbook paper in a brown tone, and then that kind of a golden yellow color, and then that other piece that I just set aside is a piece from the digital kit that I'm using that's just looks like it's a piece of washi tape on some lined paper, and I just thought it was a great accent to add, so I'm doing that. I also off camera I did ink all of the papers just to have them ready for this step. I am using my Fabri-Tac because it's handy. It works on paper. Because it's liquidy and it's just what it's made out of. I can't think of what it's got in it right off the top of my head. It gets down in, because it's still liquidy enough, it'll kind of get down into those those crevices and holes that were created in the cardboard, which is going to help it to seal, or to really get a good adhesion rather. And then I'm going to pull up that bottom edge of that that side piece that I put on. That's a piece, that's the edge, the book edge from this kit. I just cut it, separated it from a page, and I'm using it in this fashion. So I'm going to let you go ahead and watch this. I'm not going to speed it up or anything. I'm just going to set it to music and let you watch me play around with this, the construction of this beautiful assemblage of paper. Just adding some, I just want to mention this really quick, adding a piece of coffee dyed eyelet trim and then a piece of this kind of yellowish orange trim that I had in my stash as well. Just kind of layering that up on the bottom. And when I'm creating an assemblage or a piece like this, I like to balance things out. So I usually don't put an element in only one place. In this case, I'm using that same combination on the bottom, the coffee dyed eyelet trim, and that orangish yellow piece of lace on the bottom, and I'm also going to put it on the right side. So that just helps keep the piece looking cohesive and making it look like, and basically what cohesive means is it causes it to have visual sense, right? It doesn't look discombobulated. It doesn't look out of place. It looks like it was meant to be, and that's really what you're looking for when you're creating something that is kind of aesthetically pleasing to look at and to kind of have your eyes take in. So that's kind of what I mean by that. I do end up cutting off a piece of this because it was way too wide, probably because of the way that I constructed the left-hand side. Again, I did a kind of a general layout, and then obviously I had to take all those papers off, and so things get shifted around, and that is perfectly fine. So I had put some glue all over the back of that piece, but I wiped it off the upper right hand corner where I had put it, because I knew that I needed to be able to lift up that edge to put my lace, the eyelet trim and the lace on the right hand side. So that's why I was using my paper towel to wipe that off. I was holding it up to just check to see if it was straight, and I'm going to cut this eyelet fabric down to fit just the height of that piece that the girl is on. And what I really loved about this image is, well, there was a number of things. It's soft, it's pleasing, it's shabby, it's grungy, it's peaceful, it's all of those things. And I just thought that she herself looked very peaceful. And that's the place I want to live. I want to live in a place where I can let go of the things that damage my heart. I can let go of the people that don't have my best interest and my heart in mind. I can send them on their way well, with blessings. It takes time to get there, right? We can't pretend that we don't get hurt, right? But I want to be like that. I want to be able to be at peace with myself about those decisions. And so that's why I chose this image. But I will be talking about that a little bit more in the blog post because this is the Sunday's Art of Truth, as I've mentioned. So we're just going to finish up getting this all glued on, and I'm just using a paper towel to kind of push that down. It helps my fingers to not get sticky. And also, when you hold up a piece in front of you, it does help you get an idea of whether or not things are straight. So this is the last piece that we're putting on. It's just a piece of one of the pages from the kit, and I just cut a circle out of it. I think this is my 1.5 inch circle punch, and I'm going to turn it so that I forgot what it said. I'm going to have to go back and look at that. I was pointing at that for a reason, and I don't have the topper in front of me as I'm doing the voiceover. Silly me. I did turn it so that that twine looking thing on the top of the circle is up on the top. So yeah. And I'm just going to come in with some raw umber just around the edges, just to kind of darken it up. I often will use a soft, like a black soft pastel, chalk pastel, but then you have to seal it, because that chalk will just rub off, and it's kind of messy when it's black. It's really grungy and dirty. So this is another alternative for creating that dark edge without using a medium that would need to be sealed. So that's what I'm doing there. I absolutely adore how this turned out. And again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this will be the Autumn Garden Journal will be the grand prize for our 2,000 subscriber giveaway. We are 2 subscribers away from 2,000 right now as I'm doing this voiceover. So I am so excited. I am so thrilled that you all are here, that you support what I do, that you encourage me, that you make suggestions, that you give me your wish lists and all of those things. So and this is the flower I was talking about, that's off of an old sandal. And I wore these sandals, and this is another piece of the blog post, so I'm not going to say much about it. But I had these sandals. I bought them at Ross, and I probably had these sandals for 8 years. I absolutely adored them. Then they started just falling apart. I wore them to death. But this is one of the flowers. It's like made out of a faux leather. And I was going through my Fun Bits drawer, and I saw it, and I'm like, that has got to go on this cover. So you all, whoever gets this journal, gets a piece of my footwear to boot. So I'm using my E6000 here to go ahead and adhere that. I want to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. And E6000 will hold. It does need a little bit of time to set, but I'm not going to be doing anything with this topper for quite a while. So again, just pressing that down. So guys, again, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that you enjoyed the process. I am working on planning out my Mixed Media 101 series. I've been sick and it's just not been something in the forefront of my mind, but I am going to get to it. So let me know what you think in the comments, and take care, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.